All right, here we go. Looks like there's already 4 of you, so welcome to the chat. I am Juice. If this is your first time here, would love it if you would hit subscribe. We're going to just talk about tabletop RPGs for the next 30, 45 minutes. And then I got a set up for my Dragon Age Origin stream, which will also be on this channel. I'm doing a playthrough of that, and you can check that out as well. But yeah, if you ever have a question, post it in the chat. I will read it on stream, and I will try my best to answer it, or speculate on it, or just, tell you my opinion. I'm full of a bunch of opinions. We'll probably talk about some other things going on with the channel, some of the amazing companies that have sent me some things to review, including this initiative tracker by the Brothers Forged. Really cool, really awesome. You just move the sword through it. It's real cool. But I've got some Drakenstone tiles over here. I've got my tactical tokens over here. I've got a blue dragon we are in the process of getting painted. Paula is painting it, actually. That's my wife. We paint on stream every other week on Wednesday evenings. So all that good stuff. But yeah, so tonight there's a few things I plan on talking about. I kind of want to gauge everyone's opinions on the changes to the Drow that is going on with Dungeons & Dragons in the Forgotten Realms setting. We'll probably talk about some of the campaigns I'm DMing and how I'm trying to tie it all together and things like that, so that they're all happening kind of simultaneously in the same world. And something else that I started thinking about doing recently is immortalizing my players' characters in my homebrew setting. And, obviously before I do so, I reach out and ask them if that's okay, and all that good stuff. And I take little liberties with it. But, so anyways, with that, Josh already has posted a question. It says, will we ever get an updated random table like Xanathar's for all the new stuff that keeps coming out? Well, what random table are you talking about? I have Xanathar's. I should probably open it to see what you are talking about. There's a lot of cool stuff in this book, and I will admit, because it's one of the special editions, I don't really read this book a lot. I probably should get the non-special edition and start reading it more, because, again, a lot of people say this is a great book, and I think it's a great book too. But what exactly are you talking about, a random table? Are you talking about, like, I like that they separated out some beast shapes that you can change into. That's cool. But yeah, what is it you're talking about? Supplementary tables and character rolling tables. Oh, like backgrounds, like what we were talking about the other night? Was that what you're talking about? This is Your Life on page 61. That stuff? Let's see what we're talking about. Because a lot of books have done this already. So yeah, your parents, whether you're a half elf, half orc, tiefling, your birthplace, number of siblings, family, absent parent, family lifestyle, childhood home, childhood memories, based on your background, different things, like how you became it. Same thing with the classes. I mean, I love this kind of stuff, to be honest. Yeah. Yeah, I love all this kind of stuff. So, I mean, every system has pretty much done this. I don't think you need it specific to a system. For example, if you go check out the Pathfinder 1st Edition Ultimate Campaign book, has all sorts of stuff like that. Also has like how you know fellow adventurers. I originally used that chart and still use that. I actually printed out just that table for how adventurers know each other. But obviously, I also have my own chart I made for my patrons that was how adventurers know each other. So there is that. Now, one of the other things, in fact, I was going to put all that into a Google Drive doc and send an updated version, and I'll do that. But yeah, some of the other stuff, like the old, I think Gary Gygax's books used to have tables like that in there as well. They used to have like pronunciation guides for how to say like names in different languages and stuff like that, and draconic, like random dragon names tables, and so many cool things. I use that book constantly. It is so good. I love using this one for new players. Yes. Yeah. I think there's a lot of things out there that I wouldn't expect Wizards of the Coast to do a book with a ton of tables like that moving forward. I think that's perfect for a system neutral book. You know, like I have other books that are just random tables that are really interesting. Let's see. Like this one's pretty cool. So Matt David's, most of his are themed like things. But so in here, the different tables you have, for example, are male names, female names. You got 3 different tables for each. Items found in specific places, such as a wizard's chamber, alchemist lab, cottage, bandit's hideout, so on and so forth. Weapons, armor, and equipment. Book titles, potion ingredients, medicinal herbs, culinary herbs and spices, gemstones, types of encounters by forest, mountain, swamp, seafaring, catastrophes, rumors, and odd jobs. So I need to get more of these because I really like those. I also have, oops, knocking that thing down, but I'll show you that too here in just a second. This other book that I really like, same guy, the quests 1 and 2. Again, that's not really in line with like the character background stuff, but this company out of, I want to say England, sells these, and these are pretty cool. So this, it's fairly thick. It's like a little notebook, really nice poster board, like just better quality stuff. I've been meaning to do a full-on review of this. I probably will here very soon. But here you can see all the contents. They post a lot of stuff on their Instagram. It's Roll and Play. And this one is the Game Master's Fantasy Toolkit. So in here, you have Chapter 1, People in Quest. Character names, character details, character motives, character jobs, organization names, first meetings, campaign ideas. Then it goes into Chapter 2 about world building, has a bunch of stuff there. Chapter 3, Journeys and Events. Chapter 4, Combat and Injuries. Chapter 5, Items and Rewards. So, character details sounds like it might have some of that stuff. Like in the beginning, too, before you even get into that. So that, yeah, that's page 4. So, okay. Let's see. Character names, character details, behavior and traits, appearance, features, character motives. They follow the commands of their deity reluctantly. A veteran monster hunter. They always help out those in a similar field. Now, again, this is for GMs, but you could use these and tweak them for players. Campaign ideas, character jobs. Common villager work. Looks after a flock of sheep. Knits wool into clothing. Assistant to the blacksmith. Well-paid professions. Weapon-wielding careers. Jobs as personality. Performance contracts. Singer in the local tavern. You know, all these different cool things. Recently got quest deck card. Those look so good. And those have been useful in a few of my games. I normally end in the town and have them pick the quest from a notice board that session. I have been seeing those. Those have been advertised a lot on my timeline. I would love to check those out too. So yeah, they're worth it. I thought about like looking at the one that includes all the decks. But yeah, I haven't pulled the trigger. Then I can plan, and they think I'm on top of everything. That's the best. I feel like a lot of players in my games will say that. They're like, oh man, you seem to plan for everything. Not when I'm using a module. I feel like it's obvious when I run a module that I am not prepared for everything. But when I don't use a module, I'm much better on my feet. But yeah, this one has organization names, all sorts of different types of organizations. So a table for adventurers, guilds, table for mages, institutions, thieves society, clerical church, mining corporation, order of assassins, Mysterious Cult, Bardic College, and they're D12 tables. So you roll 2d12 and then you get your answer. So for example, for an Adventurers Guild, it might be the Golden Warriors or the Noble Pioneers. A mining corporation might be the Granite Diggers, the Granite Union, the Granite Shovels, something like that. Love this stuff though. This is one of the things that even in like Absolute Tabletop did a really good job with a lot of their tables and their books. And I really like this kind of stuff. Stuff that can like really influence, like it can just set you on a path of like just a bunch of creative ideas. They just start spiraling out of it. I love it. The campaign ideas in here, so there's only 20 of them, and they're fairly specific. So I'll tell you one of them. A stone sphere is floating in the sky. Its origin must be investigated with caution. You know, so that one's, again, pretty specific, but I think you could come up with some cool stuff. The first meeting, so this is always cool. This is, I think, how your party would meet. They meet in an infirmary after being injured in the same terrible accident. And there's 20 different ones of those. Then you get into my favorite stuff, world building. I love world building, even if I'm not the best at it. It's one of my favorite things. Drakenstone says improvisation is key, but having a random table handy saves the day sometimes. So yes, I agree. I like to, even all my random encounters, I actually prep them ahead of time. So an example would be if I know my players are in a specific city, right, to start a session, and I know there's some mountains to the north, there's a swamp to the east, there's a forest to the west, and maybe there's an ocean to the south. I might prep a random encounter that makes sense to each of those. And for me, and I had wrote a blog post over on the Deck of Many's blog. I did a blog post a few months ago about how I prep my random encounters. And, you know, I might use all sorts of things. I might use something like this for inspiration. Or, again, I might use the Story Engine deck or Rory's Story Cubes. I have some of those. You know, whatever. And in the process, one of the things I do is I prep, all right, what is the encounter? Is it a monster encounter? Is it a somebody in trouble encounter? Some kind of a trap? Is it a puzzle? Is it, you know, whatever it might be. Then I try to come up with something interesting or unique. If it's a combat type of encounter with a monster, it might be something about the terrain. So maybe there's like vines you can swing from. Maybe there's a slope and it's really slick, preventing the monster from getting up to the player. So they could probably try to avoid it if they wanted to. Or if they did engage in combat, that's something they have to tussle with too. And now they have to figure out, are they going to go down this slope? Or are they going to wait for the monster to come up and have advantage? You know, things like that. Just attack it from afar. A lot of different things. So I try to come up with something unique. And then I always try to have one thing that I can put in that encounter that is a clue or something that either leads them on a side quest of some sort or ties into the main story somehow that we're dealing with in the whole campaign. That's what I try to do. But yes, now when it comes down to it, things that'll make me roll for if it happens or not, if it's triggered, is if the session feels a little like it needs to be broken up with something. Say things are progressing really slow and I need to change the pace, I might do it then. If the players are, I don't know, role-playing very loudly, maybe they trigger something there. And so then I'll roll to see if it happens. This die right here, my yes/no die, love this. Absolutely love this die. I've got other random dice, such as classes and races and alignments. I've got treasure dice. In fact, I bought all those different types of weather dice. I bought all those dice back at Gen Con 50, and I've used them a ton. Challenge rating dice. So again, really, really do like that stuff, and I like to roll for it at the table, but I prep it all ahead of time. So I hope that makes sense. a lot of times people are confused. They're like, well, how is it a random encounter if you prep it ahead of time? Well, again, it's not necessarily guaranteed to happen. And to me, that is how I do my random encounters. There have still been many times where I will literally just say, okay, I want something to happen, and here's a bear to contend with, or a poisonous snake, or some bandits, or goblins, or whatever. But usually I try to prep it ahead of time. And then sometimes the players go in a completely different direction that you never expected, and that throws everything off. So, again, this is a really cool book. It's about, to get it over here to Michigan was about $30. So it's only $14. Well, not in U.S. currency, but it's 14. I don't know what that is. I'm so uncultured. But it's about $14. And then with shipping and stuff, it ends up being about $30. It's really cool, though. They also have character class ones that just came out. I haven't seen those. I don't know what's exactly in those. But they look very similar in style. They have different like covers and stuff. So that's something I need to check out as well. But very cool. Another book that I do want to... This is a friend of mine. He does YouTube. He is known for doing puzzles on his YouTube channel. And I am someone who's not very good at puzzles. But this book, Wally DM's Journal of Puzzle Encounters, highly recommend it. I have talked about this on the channel before. It tells you, so for example, if you go in, you'll have the name of it. What type of puzzle it is. So this one I'm looking at in particular is a lock and key puzzle. The location you can decide could be a castle, temple, dungeon, maze, whatever. Multi-room puzzle, yes. The difficulty is moderate, and you can combine it with other puzzles. So again, this is a really cool one. Here's something you would read aloud. This room has 4 open corridors. There's a symbol above each corridor. In the middle of this room is a black metal staff that hovers a few inches off the ground. That's it. And then from there, the players have to figure out what the heck to do. You know, and then it's got paragraphs here that you'd read to understand it. Has another section that says make it your own. It tells you the solution. And, you know, goes into all that stuff. This is a cool book. It's really well done. I want to say it's got like 90 puzzles or something like that. It says you will find 60 puzzles. So I guess it's only 60 puzzles. But again, this is worth it. You can get the PDF if you're just wanting a few puzzles and you don't want the full book. But yeah, this is my friend Wally DM. I interviewed him on the channel, but I think before this came out. And it's a good book. It's a really, really good book. So can't recommend it enough. A lot of cool products to support for sure. So set that aside with this. But yeah, the Book of Random Encounters, just in case, of course. But see, I don't like to plan the encounter using tables while at the table in game. To me, that's it just takes too long. You know, it's easy. So I have this is something I've been meaning to update for a long time. Where is that's not it. I have a binder, a GM binder somewhere around here. I don't know where it's at. It's back here somewhere. It's not here. It's usually right here, but it's not here right now. I don't know where I put it. Anyways, I have a binder. I've shown it on the channel before that has random tables. It has NPCs. So in case like players come across a random NPC, I can just roll for everything. Their personality, their race, their job, like all sorts of stuff. Most of that stuff, though, is from the Game Mastery Guide, Pathfinder 1st Edition. That book, again, the 1st Edition Pathfinder series had some amazing books that work for a ton of different systems. The Game Mastery Guide, the Ultimate Campaign book. Both of those have things in there that you can use for 5e, you can use it for Fantasy Age, you can use it for a diceless. It doesn't matter what the game is. There's a lot of great tables in those. Now, I've heard, and I don't have it, but I've heard that 4th edition, the DM's guides, both of them, are really good. I don't have those, so I can't really speak on the validity of that, but I've heard that they are fantastic and that those also provide a lot of cool opportunities to inspire things at your table. So yeah, definitely recommend those though, if you haven't checked those out either. And I would assume you can get those books for what, like 10, 15 bucks tops now? I don't know. I was looking at some 4E stuff recently just so I could mine it for ideas, but I didn't pull the trigger on that either. But those quest decks though, that's what I'm interested in. And also the Story Engine guys, they've got a world building deck that's on Kickstarter right now that looks awesome. Like the whole idea is you can like place the stuff out on your table even and be like, all right, this is my map and these are the different things that can happen in all those places. It's kind of cool. So that's something I want to get to. I think it's like Deck of Worlds or something like that. But yeah. I just love random improvisation tools. There's always that rival party that's on the same quest as the PCs. Then there's that wizard who's stalking them, wants that spell book that the PCs are carrying. 100%. So none of my players will be watching this from my Blackrock game, but very early in that campaign, they had like a side quest that I didn't think it would go the way it did. They killed this gnome woman's son who was a paladin, like a fallen paladin or an evil paladin. He was corrupted by a magic ring that the players, I think, still have. They're just not wearing it. But anyways, they don't realize this. However, and if you're watching this and you're one of my players, whether you're Tom, Laura, Andrew, Nicole, Paula, look here. You just need to stop watching for like 5 minutes. Just slide that slider 5 minutes on. If you're watching it live, then I just mute your audio for a minute. The gnome woman is a very powerful spellcaster. I haven't decided which one yet, but she has the blink dog that was formerly her son's now. She knows what happened to her son, and she will be hunting the party. That will be happening. And I'm thinking it might happen as soon as they get out of the dungeon. Now, the main quest they were on, because they did a lot of side stuff before getting to where they needed to, the NPC who was supposed to give them information ended up dying. And that was something I was like, well, look, they were supposed to get here over a week ago. They took their time getting to the destination because the players weren't buying into the hook. So then I made it like, oh, they showed up and the guy's already dead. So now they don't know the full information or anything. And now they're being hunted by the guys who killed that guy because that organization thinks that the players are onto them. And so now there's this back and forth. In fact, the players ended up in the dungeon they're in right now because they were looking for the location of these assassins who had started hunting them from that. So yeah, so we'll see what happens in the Blackrock game, but I'm pretty excited about all the different things I have going on there. The players are 6th or 7th level now. I think they're on the 3rd or 4th level of this dungeon underneath a tavern. And I've weaved some of it into Tom's character's backstory and how he got his warlock powers. And so there's a chance he might lose his powers by the end of this dungeon. I don't know yet. We'll see. But so far, it's going all right. And a lot of the stuff that I come up with for homebrew games is from random tables, improvisation tables, like I said, the random, dice, cards, all that stuff. I'm a huge fan of it. So, and I like taking things from other modules and combining them together. So I'm using my friend Gareth, DMG Infos. He's also from Quest Givers. I'm using his module for Under the Tavern, which is a system neutral guide. It talks about, like in it, it's got the rooms and it tells you what you see. But when it comes to anything with stats, it just tells you if it would be a hard check, an easy check, moderate, whatever. It also tells you Doesn't tell you the monsters. However, it might say something like vermin, or it might say an undead, might say a spellcaster. Last session, I had the players fight themselves in a room, and I think it was. I don't think that was specified in there. I think it was just said to throw some kind of encounter at them that's challenging or something. And I think I came up with that on my own. I may not have, but I think I came up with that on my own. And the thing that I did different is while the players fought themselves, the only thing that these versions of themselves didn't have was any of their magical abilities. So they could do anything that the players could do physically, but they could not do any magical things. So, for example, the warlock was able to just blow his guy away, especially since his guy didn't have any weapons. So, literally came up and tried to hit him with a rock. Against a 6th level warlock, that was not a problem. The barbarian struggled fighting herself a little bit. The monk struggled fighting herself a little bit. The cleric didn't really because he, had magic. And the druid did okay as well because, again, magic. So it wasn't too bad. But it was fun. I think the players really enjoyed it. And we will be playing that next Saturday. So, what do you guys think of the changes to Drow in Forgotten Realms? This was something I saw Jordan, the PH of Silent, talk about today. He's a amazing Forgotten Realms lore channel. He's talked about all sorts of things from, the different gods, the different eras, the spell play, like whatever you can think of in Forgotten Realms, he's pretty much talked about on his channel. And to me, there's nobody who does it better. Jordan, the PH is silent. The PH is between the R and the D in case you're curious. Great channel. But he did a video today and how he had stumbled across the Dark Alliance page, and it talks about Drit's mother, and it talked about markings on their faces that are markings of Lolth, and it's kind of like tattoos or something, but they're like, I guess they can fade over time and all sorts of stuff. Anyways, talked about how Wizards of the Coast is expanding their lore, and they're going to have, or they have now, the Uda Drow, which is the Drow we know of as, being evil and the Underdark and torture and associated with Lolth. However, there's Aed Drows, which are like from the north, typically where it's cold and icy, and that are sometimes known as the Starlight Elves. They also said in there that there are jungle drow, and all these drow don't necessarily subscribe to that Lolth idea. So there's all sorts of different drow now that Wizards of the Coast is going to be introducing. I'm kind of interested in seeing how they do it. It sounds really cool, to be honest, to me. Josh says Pathfinder 1E has so much great stuff in there. That is what got me back into D&D. Yeah, so I grew up in Palladium Books in 97. I played that exclusively until 2010. And when I started playing that, or not when I started playing it, when I met my wife and I moved in with her, we both realized we liked tabletop RPGs. We had never discussed it before then. And when I moved in with her, she had a smaller bookshelf, and I only had a few gaming books anyway. I was like, hey, I have a couple books. Can I put them on your bookshelf? Oh, yeah, no problem. And as I went to do that, I saw that she had Dungeons and Dragons books. And I was like, oh. And so she's like, yeah, what do you got? And I was like, well, this. And she had no idea. I was holding up Heroes Unlimited, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from Palladium Books, all that. It was like $4. And I was like, oh, we should play sometime. We should find some people. And she's like, yeah, we should. We struggled a little bit. I found, I got my sister and her husband at the, I think, yeah, he was her husband. Her husband to play with us. And so we played a little bit until my wife and my sister both got pregnant within a couple months of each other, and that kind of killed the game. But my wife ran AD&D for us, and that was my trip into Dungeons and Dragons back in 2010. And after a couple years of playing that and Palladium and playing Palladium Fantasy, I switched to Pathfinder in 2013. Bought a ton of books, started collecting miniatures, and I had hundreds of dollars of books, only played it a handful of times as a DM, and ran a little bit for my wife, some solo games. Played in some games at, what do they call it? Pathfinder Society. Liked playing it. It was fun. Running it was kind of a pain in my butt because it didn't come easily for me at the time. And I had been so used to one system with Palladium Books that it was hard for me to adapt about 10 years ago or 7 years ago. So then when 5e came out, I abandoned my original Pathfinder stuff. I've sold some of my books from then, and I switched over to 5e. And I would say I played that almost exclusively for a while, and now I'm really open to a lot of different systems. So, yeah. But Pathfinder 1e had a lot of good stuff. I agree. There's a lot of things in there that I've used for other games. Drakenstone says, there's always that rival party that's on the same... Okay, I read that. Sam says, I'll have to see more info first. I liked that little lullaby video. I feel like the peak of Drit's clones are behind us anyway. Yeah, I wonder too if they're trying to... One, I think they're expanding the lore because all Drow being the same way except for one Drow, to me in general, just it's a huge stereotype. I kind of like the idea of having more variety anyway. So I am interested in seeing what they do personally. But yes, and I think the new lore is going to make it more justifiable that Drow aren't all the same. They don't all worship Lolth, and they are, just like anything else, varied in who they are. Kelf says, haven't seen the video yet, but the main thing that has always been a stick in my side has been that the Drow are dark-skinned and Eladrin are light-skinned. Interesting. Drow should be light-skinned, and High Elves should be darker. Actually, yes, science, like, if you're using real-world physics, and not physics, real-world, like, biology, that would make sense. Yeah. Eladrin are the Technicolor skin now. Do we even have Eladrin? I know, didn't they put that in the DM's guide? And other than that, I don't think it's been in any other books, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the only place that it was in. Josh says, honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the idea. I like the idea of Drow being corrupted by Lolth and it being a huge thing to leave and very rare. I mean, it still is, so I don't think that necessarily has to change. It does make sense that there would be small groups of heretics who have rejected Lolth and thus have to struggle against the continued influence. I would like it to be that way, but I doubt it. Yeah, no, it sounds like they're just different. Like, you know, you have the ones that were corrupted by Lolth and taken underground. That's why it's a cult, not a full-on religion, I think, is how they've worded it. Explicitly, they've said cult in the thing. So yeah, I think that, and to me, it kind of makes sense that, like, yeah, okay, Lolth had this portion of the world in Underdark. You have these other ones that were in the other part up here, and other that were over here, and maybe they never even mingled and got to know each other, so maybe that's why. But yeah, I would have to, again, I agree with what you guys have said. I'd probably have to see a little more. In the campaign I'm playing in, there are good Drow and evil Drow. We haven't met a good Drow, but we think they're out there. Yeah, his name is Dritz. Other than that, there isn't another one. So one of the things I'm doing, and some of you who've watched my channel for a while, you know that I'm running multiple campaigns, but I'm running Descent into Avernus and Tyranny of Dragons at the same time with 2 different groups. A couple players are in both. 1 player's in both. That's my wife. We stream those games. And so we started Descent into Avernus in 2019, in that October. And when we started that, it was the first module I decided to run on stream. I've run a little bit of Tyranny of Dragons in the past. I've run a little bit of Princes of the Apocalypse. I've played through a little bit of Out of the Abyss. I've never been one who's excited about running a module, a full-on module. To me, I feel restricted, and it's hard for me to be more free and open with what I allow players to do in a module. It's a mental thing that I can't get past. I know I can do whatever I want, but I struggle with it. But anyways, with that said, running Descent into Avernus, I really got into it. I started to really like it. I think it's a good module. And one of my players bought me Tyranny of Dragons, the special edition. I've already had Horde of the Dragon, Queen of Rise Team, but he got me the special edition cover and told me I have to run it now. So decided to run it, and when I decided to run it, I said it's happening at the same time the Descent campaign's happening. And so what that meant is El Terrell can't be there, and that's a small portion of what's happening in Tyranny of Dragons. However, my players in Tyranny of Dragons just got to that part. So next session in 4 weeks, they will be seeing like the El Terrell is gone and there's just a crater there where it used to be and things like that. So I'm pretty excited about that. And it now has me thinking, oh man, I should probably run more modules like, I don't know, Out of the Abyss or whatever, and carry on some of the lore from my other games into those, because I think that would be a lot of fun. I'm probably getting way more of a kick out of the stuff than I think the players are. I dropped like hints back when I think the players were in the Raiders camp about El Terrell being missing. I think I may have had that come up in Greenest as well. But to me, it's like kind of cool, like linking them up like that. I think the new groups are Splinter factions, and the majority followed Lilith Underground. Yeah, I think that's probably it too. I'll be interested to see how many are Starlight Elves and how many are the Jungle Drow as well. But yes, Josh, I agree. We don't have enough information to have a strong opinion. I know there's people who are just going to hate it because it's different. And they want Drow to be Lolth Drow and that's it. To me, that's fine. However, in my opinion, having like, this is just how a race is kind of lazy, in my opinion. Like the whole idea that, oh, all orcs are evil or all Drow are evil in general just kind of bothers me. It doesn't bother me to the point where it's like a pet peeve or anything like that. I just don't find it very inspiring. To me, I like how... So in my homebrew world, you can come across Dragonborn in this area that might be good. You might come across Dragonborn in this area that are evil. Same thing with Drow. Like, I try to mix it up. And sometimes I go with the stereotype. Other times I go completely against it. So that's what I like to do. To me, it's a lot of shades of gray instead of black or white. You know what I mean? Sam says, there's probably going to be an Unearthed Arcana with the new Drow stuff coming soon. Honestly, that would be cool. I wouldn't have a problem with that. Currently running Dragon of Icespire Peak and using Rise of Tiamat as the continuation after it. That's kind of cool. So I was originally talking about running the Dragon of Icespire Peak. I was going to run my wife through it and we were going to do a breakdown on it, but you know, obviously we're real busy with other games and other things, so it never happened. But yeah, I'm very curious to hear how that goes. How far are you into Icespire Peak? Because that's not very long. It's only a couple levels, right? And does that flow well into Rise of Tiamat? Are you skipping the Horde of the Dragon Queen stuff and just going straight into Rise of Tiamat? Because that's interesting. So one of the other things I'm trying to do, since I'm trying to write out my homebrew world and incorporate a lot more I want to, in the future, run more stuff in my homebrew world, whether it's one-shots with my patrons and things like that. But one of the things I'm thinking of doing is immortalizing some of the more memorable player characters. So I'm running a Pathfinder game right now on every other Friday that's ending in probably like 3 weeks. Might be, I don't think it's going to end this next Friday. It's probably going to be 3 weeks from now. But we have a character named Balthazar, who also known as Rot Boy. He's an oracle, and I think it's like the god of death. And so what happens is when he does these focus spells, his ear might fall off or flakes of skin. Like basically he rots, he decomposes. And so his character has been very interesting to me, and he's not going to be able to make it anymore, which kind of stinks because we're so close to the end. But he has given me permission to immortalize his character in my homebrew world. And so with things that are going to happen, I've got ideas. I'm going to tweak him a little bit, but he's going to become a canon character in my setting Might even make him the god of death in my homebrew world. I don't know yet. Or maybe he's just a really high-end disciple of the god of death in my homebrew world. Just because I think it'd be cool. And I want to do things like this more for players and their characters that have been through like a lot of my campaigns and stuff. I think that would be kind of cool. The bigger twist is that the cult of Tiamat has received a premonition that a Mind Flayer dreadnought will be arriving above Faerun. Ooh, that's interesting. So the cult is trying to awaken the dragons to fight back the Illithids when they arrive. So the players have to decide whether they side with the cult or fight them and then deal with the Illithids. That is a predicament. I feel like you would want to handle one at a time, but they could take each other out too. That would be a fun campaign. Campaign is going well. We are 35-ish sessions in, and the players are level 6. I used Dragon of Icespire Peak as the framework to introduce the characters to the world and general adventures. Josh says, I've done that a few times in my games. The players love finding themselves and finding out what happened to them. Yes, so I've actually done this early on when I started running 5e. We ran a game for my wife's family, so her brother, his wife, and then another couple that was related to them. And we ran, it was all homebrew, and I was incorporating some stuff from Horde of the Dragon Queen, like the attack on Greenest, but I renamed the town to a town in my setting, and changed everything after Greenest. Like, it wasn't like they were going to the Raider camp. They were going to a ruins of Tiamat and things like that. Because this, in my world, the Cult of the Dragon has always been about Tiamat. It has nothing to do with undead dragons. And, or at least in this portion of the world, I should say. So, the players were doing their thing, and then the campaign ended because we moved to the opposite side of the state, the other side of the state, which now we're back over here. But when that happened, I decided to run it again for a group over there. We started with almost the same type of things, the same type of attack and things like that. And the players were, in that game, this was like 80 years later, stumbled across statues when they were trying to unite a bunch of the different cities to fight against the cult. And they came across statues of the players from the first game. And my wife was like, wait, that was my brother's character. And I said, yeah. And she's like, oh, and like the light bulb went on. She's like, oh, and she loved it. It was cool. And I've stolen ideas from other people too, talking about their campaigns. So Dave from Nerdarchy, I think, talked about a Hydra coming over a city wall and then being turned to stone. And I love that idea so much that I have incorporated stuff like that into my games as well. I just think it's cool. But along the way, they have been doing a lot of side quests from the Dragon of Icespire Peak and some homebrew ones, and are currently in Neverwinter, 3 days before the Council of Waterdeep take place. Ooh. They're having to deal with a murder mystery before the council. But once they get to the council, I plan on having them be given the task of tracking down the cultists and stopping them. That's interesting. That's really interesting. So, quickly wanted to show off a couple things real quick. So I had talked earlier about the tactical tokens. So here's some of the tactical tokens. You can get, here's their logo too, in case you're curious. You can follow them on Twitter. Dave from Tactical Tokens is an awesome guy. They sell them in different colors. So you can have these like see-through ones. You can put them over it. You can still see through it. You probably can't tell on camera, but you can still see the stuff through it. He makes custom ones with monsters now on them. But yeah, different colors, various colors, blue, pink, red, yellow, white, whatever. You then get white ones. You can also get white blank ones that dry erase, write whatever you want on there. Really awesome. This setup, again, really, really cool. And I highly recommend them. Highly recommend them. So I have them in this book that I got at like Michael's or something. You can get them at Hobby Lobby, stuff like that. I plan on painting this up and making this part of my GM kit when I travel to like conventions and stuff. Might not keep them in this because this wood isn't very good. I don't want to ruin it. Also wanted to talk about Drakenstone tiles a little bit. I have an unboxing video I had recorded a while back. I'm still trying to get that out. You saw him earlier in the chat. He was hanging out with us. He sent me a bunch of really cool like stuff here. He pours the molds himself. You can see like a cool table here. I believe the link is in the description. He also is selling 3D printed miniatures now. So those are really cool. Here's an example of a dragon. I need to get those painted. Here's an ooze that looks really cool. All of his rooms are magnetic. So here's one of the rooms. Really durable. But they're magnetic. So the entryways actually stick together. Like if I let go, this one's too heavy, but if I let go, you can feel it. So they're magnetic. They're really awesome. Go check out Drakenstone if you haven't, especially if you like miniatures. They also have like the wooden like tavern floors and stuff. They're made with Hearst Arts, but yeah, they're really cool. Here's a spiral staircase. So yeah, you can get columns with lights, which is cool. Really cool stuff. So I just wanted to quickly mention that because I love those. Looking forward to using those when we get back to in-person gaming here. But yeah. Kelp says, it'll be during the time that they will get clues about the Illithids and be presented with the choice of convincing the council about the premonition or going on their own. What do you think the players are going to choose? I feel like you would take out the cult. I really do. But Illithids are no joke. I just don't think you can let Tiamat come back. Like, Tiamat is powerful. And if she's on the material plane, like, she's just going to get stronger over that time. I don't think you can do that. I think that would be terrible. And what happens if the cult and the Illithids team up? Because that's the other thing that the players probably haven't thought about or won't think about. But what if those two team up? Now you got some trouble. Sam says, finally getting back to hosting in-person sessions next week. That looks neat. Yeah, so we have not played an in-person game in over a year. It's great, a year and a half now almost. It was, I think, February of 2020 was our last in-person game. You think they'll stop the cult? Yeah, I think that's what they should do. If I was a player, that would be my thought. I'd be like, stop the cult. Once that's done, focus on the Illithid. Oh, it's personal. That makes sense. So here in about 25 minutes, I will be streaming. Actually, I think I have it for 8:15. I will be streaming Dragon Age Origins on this channel. We can talk about this if you want to come on to that stream and talk. We can talk about your campaigns. I love talking about all this stuff. So yeah, I'll be on there in about 15 minutes. So I just got to set up everything over there. But I appreciate you guys watching. I really appreciate it. You guys rock. I might bring these back too. I might do this format again. I was doing it for a while. I got away from it. I like doing it on Sundays. It's just the best time for me. I've done them in the morning, but I could do them in the evening too, whatever seems to work best. So if you're not part of it, head on over to my Discord community. I'll be talking about it there. You can always message me on Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. And again, we can talk about D&D, Pathfinder, Call of Cthulhu, Fantasy Age, Dragon Age, whatever you guys are interested in. Hey, O'Neill Flynn, you got to head over to my next stream here in the next 15 minutes. I'm going to be streaming Dragon Age Origins, buddy. You should come check it out. We'll probably talk about RPGs while I play it. Oh, and before I go, I have some giveaways coming up. So we are going to be giving away 3 different bundles of Blue Rose, which is the age system by Green Ronin. So 3 different bundles, I believe, that will be given away during our stream of that. We'll be talking about that more in 2 weeks on Friday. I'm going to have Joseph Carricker. He's the designer of Blue Rose. And I'm also going to have our GM on as well. And we'll talk about the campaign that's coming up. It's a short 2 or 3 session campaign. We'll be talking about the giveaways. I also am giving away Dragon Age kits as well. So if you're interested in these RPGs and you want them for free, stay tuned. I'm going to create a graphic, have that up, and start sharing that around on the social media stuff on the ways you can win them. And yeah, I'm really excited about giving that stuff away. Green Ronin was really nice to gift some stuff for me to give away. So other than that, I'm not getting any, I didn't get anything free out of the deal or anything. It's literally they just want to help promote their game to you guys. And yeah, so with that, guys, we're going to end the stream right there. This was Master the Game. I am Juice. Game on. Thanks for watching, guys.